familiar theme song. It's time to go out to the other coast of the United States, the West Coast. Michael Snyder, he's got some movies for you. He's coming to you officially from Hollywood. That's where they make this crap. So have at it.
Well, not everything is made in Hollywood. You know, I'm a fan of those Indian foreign films, but yeah, here we go. Unfortunately, or fortunately, from what I'm hearing, I was unable to catch the new Mark Wahlberg movie, Mile 22, because of logistics. It's an espionage thriller purportedly, and let's forget about it. There was plenty more to scan and review this week, and we'll start with Crazy Rich Asians. It's a romantic comedy with a difference insofar as it feels like the first major English language movie, with a primarily Asian cast since maybe like the Joy Luck Club. It's got some familiar Meet the Family tropes going on, the sort that we ran into and were used to comic effect in the, Fockers trilogy, Meet the Fockers and such. Only this time, the situation is that Nick, played by Henry Golding, a handsome, articulate Singapore native working as an academic in New York, wants to introduce Rachel, played by, I guess, relative newcomer Constance Wu, his lovely, brilliant Asian American, emphasis on the American, actually, girlfriend and fellow academic, to his family back in Singapore when he goes there for his best friend's wedding. But the girl doesn't know that Nick is the heir to a massive fortune in Singapore, and his mother, played by the awesome Michelle Yeoh, won't take kindly to a middle-class American girl as her son's significant other, no matter how accomplished Rachel is. Apparently, by the way, the wealthy in Singapore live at a level of opulence that makes one of Gatsby's parties look like Happy Hour on Skid Row. I mean, the settings are unbelievable. But throughout the story, which hinges on Rachel's conflict with Nick's dragon mom, you're amused by the supporting cast, especially stand-up comic Awkwafina as Rachel's boisterous best buddy, the ever-hilarious Ken Jeong as the BFF's dad, and Jimmy O. Yang of Silicon Valley as a loose cannon groomsman at the wedding. You're entertained by them. You're involved in the girl's struggle. Crazy Rich Asians deserves to make a lot of money at the box office, and may do so, tapping into an undeserved audience, an unserved audience, an underserved audience, people looking for a well-made and smart rom-com regardless of ethnic issues here. So yeah, I kind of recommend this thing if you like this sort of thing. Alpha is an adventure, and it's a sprawling adventure, beautifully shot and set in the last ice age, and it tells a very cool and very kind of engaging story about a boy in a tribe left for dead during a hunt in the wilderness, and the wolf who becomes his companion and protector after a very, very strained courtship, if you will. It's directed and co-written by Albert Hughes of Book of Eli, Dead Presidents, and From Hell, among other notable efforts. And it's his first film without his longtime collaborator and twin brother, Alan Hughes. Nonetheless, Albert delivers the goods with Alpha. Despite lead actor Cody Smith-McPhee's co-star for the majority of the film being a canine, Alpha ain't no dog. Smith-McPhee, you remember him as a kid actor. He's kind of growing into himself, and he delivers all the angst and all the courage that you want out of his main character. And you know what? This is a fine family picture that feels more like a sophisticated version of those old Disney true life adventure sagas than any of the more recent attempts to tap into the kid market. I think Alpha is very, very well done. And again, if it's the sort of thing you're interested in or looking for, it would be good to see on the big screen. It is beautifully shot, like I said. The Wife concerns Joan Castleman, a woman of a certain age, one beyond middle, and she's questioning her life choices as she travels to Stockholm with her husband, Joe, where he's slated to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. Well, and let me tell you, when it comes to interpersonal drama and scenes from a marriage, if you'll allow me to crib a title from a Bergman movie, it doesn't get much better than The Wife. And it doesn't hurt that the titular wife is played by Glenn Close at the pinnacle of her abilities, and her husband is played by the great Jonathan Pryce, lately the High Sparrow on Game of Thrones, but also a major figure in the films Brazil, Time Bandits, and so many other masterworks. This also has Max Irons playing the Castleman's embittered son, who's a would-be writer, whose work is dismissed by dear old dad. Christian Slater as a prying Joe Castleman biographer. He wants to write a book about this guy, but he's definitely a creep. And Elizabeth McGovern, who is in flashbacks as a thwarted, marginally successful female writer who suggests that Joan give up her own dreams of being a novelist in the male-dominated world of her youth. Joan's late-in-life realization that she may have pissed away that life is one of the cruxes of this movie. It's very, very well done, and kudos to the cast and the director Bjorn Runge and writer Jane Anderson. I thought The Wife was definitely worth checking out, and it will translate well to video. Juliet Naked is the next movie on the docket, and full disclosure, I'm a major fan when it comes to the novels of writer Nick Hornby, who wrote High Fidelity and About a Boy, among others. He also wrote the script to the absolutely delightful young girl comes of age in the swingin' 60s movie, An Education. Now comes Juliet Naked, based on Hornby's book about a college professor named Duncan who lives in a small British seaside town with his museum director girlfriend Annie, and their relationship has suffered because, among other things, Duncan is an obsessed fanboy of Tucker Crowe, who's a reclusive rock singer-songwriter and whose greatest album came out 25 years ago and led to him going into hiding. Annie could not care less about the musician, and thus she gets a little disgusted at Duncan's obsession. After one of Duncan's fellow Crow lovers sends him a heretofore unheard collection of the demo versions of the songs from that watershed album, Annie opens the package and listens before Duncan gets a chance, setting a series of events in motion that changed the lives of the couple and even Crow himself. I was charmed by Juliet Naked, which maybe falters compared to the book, but it was immeasurably helped by the principal actors involved, Chris O'Dowd and Rose Byrne as Duncan and Annie. Rose Byrne can do it all, comedy, drama, and Ethan Hawke as Tucker Crowe, with Hawke doing his own singing. And you know what? He's not too shabby in that department. There's an easygoing, unforced quality to the whole enterprise that ideally fit Hornby's frothy source material. It's not very substantial, especially when compared to the adaptations of High Fidelity and About a Boy, but it's a pleasant diversion aimed at adults, and that's pretty refreshing. Directed by Jesse Peretz. And you know what? I'm going to throw in one more movie, We the Animals, because it's powerful, original, troubling, and heartbreaking. It's about three young brothers coming of age in less than ideal family and economic circumstances. And it's based on the novel of the same name by the American author Justin Torres, who apparently based the novel on his own childhood. At times it plays like a constantly shifting memory or like a half-remembered dream. And sometimes it seems like very little's happening, but like in childhood, small things can seem enormous and life-changing, and sometimes the biggest thing can at first seem inconsequential. Directed and co-written by Jeremiah Zager, a guy whose work I'm not familiar with, but this has flair and bravura. And the three amateurs he recruited to play the brothers seem like the real deal. I mean, so real that there's this sense that you're watching a documentary that suddenly goes into flights of fancy. Highly recommend We the Animals. Again, something that will play well on video. What are you watching, buddy?
I finished all 16 episodes of Babylon Berlin.
And
it's I think it's terrific. You know, I do make a suggestion, however, and that is because it is in German, which is a very terse language, which makes it doubly difficult to read the subtitles. I say you watch the dubbed version. You're going through 16 episodes, and another reason to watch the dubbed version is if you're paying attention to the subtitles, you miss the gorgeousness of the photography and of the backgrounds and of the costumes and everything of this show, which takes place in 1929 Berlin, and the 15th episode is one of the most tense pieces of television I've ever watched in my life. So.
And I double that recommendation, except for me, I'd rather watch it in German and struggle with subtitles to hear the original actors' voices. But guess what? It's coming back for another go-round
Well,
soon.
that's a snobby attitude, and I'm going to tell you why.
I love the real voice.
I'm going to tell you why, because I watched it with the dubbing and the subtitles at the same time, and there is no difference in what is being said, absolutely none, and it allows you, it frees you to take the thing in without being encumbered by having to read stuff on the screen, which takes you away from the gloriousness of the presentation.
I will agree with you. It's a lovely, lovely piece of work, and the art direction is spectacular. But again, I love the actors' voices. And I will not.
But you don't know these actors. You never heard their voices before. I mean, if it were John,
they're emoting. You know what? Let's just agree that it's a great show.
It is a great show, but better if you watch it dubbed.
Jesus. All right, listen. Well, you can catch me on Twitter at Culture Blaster.
Wait a minute, let me start the damn theme song, okay?
Sure, okay.
There we go.
I'm on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and you can revisit Alex and I there or on Roku. There's a lot of places to check out the show.
Oh, by the way, Babylon Berlin is on Netflix, so in case people. Of course, everything's on Netflix. Anyway, thank you, Michael. And I'm Alex Bennett, and if you're listening to us 24/7, there's more GABNet coming right up.